I think I will.
It's audible, madam. Yes, madam.
Okay.
Please,
I will be sharing the PPT now.
Sure, madam. You can share.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is the PPT visible?
Yes, yes, madam. Second, now is clear, madam. Please go ahead, madam.
Yeah, the topic today I thought I will be discussing with all of you is gender sensitization through education. What I thought, especially now during this pandemic, we have been seeing that violence on women has been increasing, especially domestic violence. And then most of the women are not even coming out with the information that they have been being abused, even with their intimate partners or family members. Okay, so this we thought this issues of gender equality or gender inequality, gender discrimination, and issues of gender stereotyping, which we place into the minds of the mindsets of children. This we thought will be very much crucial if it has to be handled by us teachers especially. So hence this topic, the gender sensitization through education. Now I would like to start this with a small activity. The first thing, I will be giving you 3 cases about different personalities. I want all of you to name the personality. It's your liking. You can give any name you want. You can either unmute yourself and then speak, or you can even put it on your answers on the chat box. Now, the first personality description which I am giving is, it's a high school basketball coach, age around 26, playing basketball in high school and also in college. This is the description of a personality, and majored in physical education. Okay, and also likes to play piano and paint during the leisure times. So this personality, I want all of you to just write down a name for this personality. Okay. Any name which you would like to give to this description of the personality. Now, the second personality which I am presenting is an architect who is 32 years old, married, having 2 children, likes sports like skiing and skating, and spends most of the occasional weekends in hill stations. Okay, and then likes to read detective novels very extensively. This is the description of the second personality which I have in mind. Okay. If you are finished giving a name to this personality, I will move on with the third personality description. The third is a home baker with a beautiful long hair and who knows cooking very well and cooks very well and is very caring about children. This is the third personality. So I want you to give names, name these 3 personalities. If you're finished, you can unmute, one of you can unmute, and then you can just tell me the names which you have written. Anybody? Or you can even message. Shall I name anyone? I can see Srimati Y.K. Bhagya here. Can Bhagya speak?
Namaste, madam.
Namaste, Bhagya. Any name which you have given?
Madam, first one, madam.
The first one is a high school basketball coach, aged at 26, plays basketball. He has started playing basketball since high school and even through college, and has majored in physical education. in studies. Also likes to play piano, and then also likes painting during leisure times. This is the first personality. I want you to give a name to this personality. Any name. Anybody else also can think of? Yeah, Dr. Bhagya, could you think of a name for this personality? Okay, the second personality whom I am describing is an architect who is 32 years old, married with having 2 children, who also likes skiing and skating, and also likes to spend occasional weekends in hill stations mostly, and then likes to read detective novels and reads novels very extensively. Any name which you can suggest?
Extraordinary.
ಅಲ್ಲ, ನಾನ್ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇರೋದು ಇದು ಒಂದು ಪರ್ಸನಾಲಿಟಿ, ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿತ್ವದ ವಿವರಣೆ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೀನಿ. ಈ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿತ್ವಕ್ಕೆ ಒಂದು ಹೆಸರು ಇಡಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ನೀವ್ ಏನ್ ಹೆಸರು, ಏನಾದ್ರೂ ಹೆಸರು ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಏನ್ ಸೂಟಬಲ್ ಅನ್ಸುತ್ತೆ ಈ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿಗೆ, ಆ ಹೆಸರು ಹೇಳಿ ಅಷ್ಟೇ.
For first 2 instances, it's very difficult to give the names, but for the third one, we can easily give as housewife.
Okay. ಅಲ್ಲ, ನಾನು ಅವ್ರ ಏನ್ ಪ್ರೊಫೆಷನ್ ಅಂತ ಕೇಳ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಒಂದ್ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿ ಒಂದ್ ಹೆಸರು ಇಡ್ಬೇಕು. ಈಗ ನನ್ನ ಹೆಸರು ಶೀಲಾ, ನಿಮ್ ಹೆಸರು ದೀಪಕ್, ರೈಟ್? ಹಾಗೆ ಈ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿಯ ಡಿಸ್ಕ್ರಿಪ್ಷನ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟಾಗ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಒಂದ್ ಹೆಸರು ಹೇಳಿ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ, ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಇಷ್ಟ ಬಂದಿದ್ದ ಹೆಸರು.
ಬಹುಮುಖ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿತ್ವ.
ಅಲ್ಲ, ಹೆಸರು ಕೊಡಿ ಆ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿಗೆ. ಸುಜಾತ ಅವ್ರೆ, ಅನ್ಮ್ಯೂಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಡಿ.
ಸ್ಪೋರ್ಟ್ಸ್ ಮ್ಯಾನ್ ಆಗ್ತಾರೆ ಮೇಡಮ್, ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಕ್ರೀಡೆಗೆ ಆಸಕ್ತಿ ಇರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ
First one you can call it sportsman, musician and painter.
ಸರಿ, ಆ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿಯ ಹೆಸರು ಏನ್ ಕೊಡಕ್ ಇಷ್ಟಪಡ್ತೀರಾ? ಆ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿಗೆ ಏನಂತ ಹೆಸರಿಡಕ್ ಇಷ್ಟಪಡ್ತೀರಾ?
Artist.
ಹೆಸರು
ಮಲ್ಟಿ ಟ್ಯಾಲೆಂಟ್ ಪರ್ಸನ್.
ಹೆಸರು
ಮಲ್ಟಿ ಟ್ಯಾಲೆಂಟ್ ಪರ್ಸನ್ ಮೇಡಮ್.
ಹೆಸರಂದ್ರೆ ಈಗ ನಿಮ್ ಹೆಸರು ಸುಜಾತ ಇದೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ
ಮೇಡಮ್? ಧೋನಿ ಇರ್ಬೋದು.
ಹಾಗೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಒಂದು ಹೆಸರುಗಳನ್ನ ಕೊಡು
ಮೇಡಮ್. ವನಿತಾ ಮೇಡಮ್.
ಸುರೇಶ್ ಅವ್ರು ಹೇಳ್ತಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಧೋನಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಒನ್ಗೆ.
ಧೋನಿ.
ಓಕೆ, ಫೇಮಸ್ ಪರ್ಸನಾಲಿಟೀಸ್ ಹೆಸರೇ ಆಗ್ಬೇಕಂತಿಲ್ಲ, ಯಾರ ಹೆಸರು ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೂ ನೀವ್ ಹೇಳ್ಬೋದು. ಓಕೆ, ಈಗ ಎರಡನೇವ್ರಿಗೆ ಏನಂತ ಹೆಸರು ಕೊಡ್ತೀರಾ? ವನಿತಾ. ಓಕೆ, ಮೂರನೇವ್ರಿಗೆ? ರಮೇಶ್ ಯಾವ್ದಕ್ಕೆ?
ಸೌಂದರ್ಯ.
ಸಾರಿ ಮೇಡಮ್, ಮೂರನೇದಕ್ಕೆ ನಾವು ವಿಮೆನ್ ಹೇಳ್ಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ.
ಮೇಡಮ್
ಲಾಂಗ್ ಹೇರ್, ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಆಪ್ಷನ್
ಅನ್ನಪೂರ್ಣ ಮೂರನೇದಕ್ಕ. ಓಕೆ, ಈಗ ವೈ ಐ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟೆಡ್ ಆಫ್ ವಿತ್ ದಿಸ್ ವಾಸ್, ಇವಾಗ ನಾವು ಹೆಸರು ಕೊಡುವಾಗ ನಾರ್ಮಲ್ ಆಗಿ ಈ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಎರಡನೇದಕ್ ನೋಡಿ ಬಾಸ್ಕೆಟ್ ಬಾಲ್ ಕೋಚ್ ಅಂತ, ಮತ್ತೆ ಬಾಸ್ಕೆಟ್ ಬಾಲ್ ಸ್ಕೂಲ್ ಡೇಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಆಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಅಥವಾ ಫಿಸಿಕಲ್ ಎಜುಕೇಶನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ದೇ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಡನ್ ಅ ಡಿಗ್ರಿ ಇನ್ ಇಟ್. ಓಕೆ, ಈ ತರದ್ದು, ಮತ್ತೆ ಆರ್ಕಿಟೆಕ್ಟ್, ಈ ತರದ್ದು ಪ್ರೊಫೆಷನ್ಸ್, ಮತ್ತೆ ದ ವೇ ದೇ ಸ್ಪೆಂಡ್ ದೇರ್ ಲೀಜರ್ ಟೈಮ್. ಓಕೆ, ಲುಕಿಂಗ್ ಅಟ್ ಆಲ್ ದಿಸ್, we always have ನೀವು ಹೇಳ್ದಂಗೆ it was Dhoni whom you named and somebody gave a name Ramesh. We always associate male characters with these type of activities or professions. Okay, homemaker with a beautiful long hair, beauty, itaradella bandaga, cooking and then caring for children, having patience.
Education ಕೊಡಬಹುದು ಮೇಡಮ್.
Right, ಈ ತರ ಸಿಚುವೇಶನ್ಸ್ ಅಥವಾ ಪ್ರೊಫೆಷನ್ಸ್ ಬಂದಾಗ we always tend to name that person with a female name. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ನಾವು societally, we have been brought up like that. Okay. And we
ಸುಕೇಶಿನಿ
have-
ಮೂರನೇದು
ಮೂರನೇದು ಯಾವುದು? ಸುಕೇಶಿನಿ. Okay,
ಸುಕೇಶಿನಿ
okay, because of beautiful long hair. Okay.
ಬ್ಯೂಟಿಫುಲ್ ಲಾಂಗ್ ಹೇರ್.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, Sukeshini, a very rare and good name also.
ಹಾ
Okay, what I'm trying to tell you here is, we being teachers, we look into the professions and certain characteristics to be for that of male, and then to some characteristics to be for that of female. And in our society, we are imbibed with certain values, imbibed with certain behaviors, where we tend to think that cooking is something which is to be associated with the female. Caring for children and having a very patient attitude and all that, and having a beautiful appearance, all this is associated again with the female. But being robust, being aggressive, being angry, or being an athletic, okay, all this we try to, and then somebody who can have leisure time, who can go around in weekends, okay, and then plan for doing his own leisure activities. Okay, all such things we associate always with the male. Okay, so if we just see, we ourselves, after being brought up for so many years and then coming into a profession, if we just look back, how did we associate these roles and these appearances to men and women? Okay, if we just think, then when did we learn this? Where did we learn this? Where did we learn that somebody who is aggressive and robust should be a man? Why not a woman who has to be aggressive? Okay, and then why should women always be caring? Why should always women take activities like cooking at home? Okay, so these we have been learning through the socialization process which happens in the society. Okay, and then because of all this, the society has been imbibing in us values which are not in conformation with the values of gender equality. Okay, we have been following this gender discrimination, and then we have been learning gender discrimination unknowingly. Nobody taught us and said that you have to discriminate between a girl and a boy, treat a girl unequally and treat a boy to be having more competent and then to be contributing member of a society. Nobody directly told us this, but still indirectly we have been learning this through the socialization process in the society in which we have grown up, especially our Indian society for that matter. This gender inequalities and discriminations are being learned by us, even though nobody taught us directly saying that discriminate, treat them unequal. You were never told treat women unequally, discriminate them yourself, but still we have learned this. Okay, through education at various levels, how we were imbibed? We were imbibed at various levels. One, at our family level. Then when we entered into education system in our school level, and then even in the society and the community level, we have been learning all this gender inequality and discrimination. And then through even our religious customs and traditions. Normally what happens, whatever comes to us through our customs and traditions, we accept them without questioning them, because we grow up with those traditions and customs. Most of us do not question our customs. Okay, so even our customs and traditions have taught us this gender discrimination and gender inequalities, which we are practicing without even questioning. The Constitution gives us two fundamental rights, that is right to equality, and then it has another aspect of non-discrimination. So nobody has to be discriminated in the society, and everybody has equal rights. This is given to us by our Constitution. Now, looking at the global scenario, gender inequality is a very truly global concern now, not confined only to our community here or community regional level or to the national level. It has become a global concern, because looking at the laws existing in different countries, at least we have equal laws and equal rights to both men and women, but there are countries which do not even give equal rights. Some countries are still not giving even equal rights to even vote their own government to women. Okay, and many of the activities and practices, women cannot work outside. Even that right is not given to a woman in many of the countries. Law in those countries also ban these women against voting and then working and all, which we consider is a right in our country. Okay, so gender equality is becoming a global concern. We know women form almost half of the population of the world. Okay? Please mute yourself if you are speaking. Okay, if we look into so-called Hollywood, Dr. Lingaraj Murthy ಅವರೇ mute ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ತೀರಾ? Okay, Hollywood we know, which we think is so-called existing in a very forward country and a developed country. In spite of this, if we look into the Hollywood or even houses of the parliament, okay, and in India and other countries, and then even in our classrooms, take India or any other country for that matter, women and girls are still fighting for the equal rights which they have to get. Okay, women still are demanding for 50% of their seats in the parliament, even in India, but we are not even able to represent 30% of it, in which the government is giving. Okay, and then they are asking for a chance to determine the shape of their own future. They are not able to even decide or shape their own future. Okay, somebody else, maybe the father or maybe any male person who is considered to be looking after that female in the house, determines the future of that lady in the house or the girl in the house. Okay, so they are denied equality in pursuing their careers. Okay, and then they are denied exercising personal freedom. Okay, and then they are not given sufficient freedom in houses, in schools, in workplaces. And then even something which is a fundamental right to learn, or right to education, which is considered to be a fundamental right, even this right, many of the girl child is not able to have access to. So that is why this is becoming a global concern now. Now let us look into some global facts and figures before actually moving on into gender sensitization, which is the topic of today. These are the statistics which have been taken. First, these facts prove that girls and women everywhere at this point of time, not only now, even in future and back in history, they always deserved to live in a better world than what they are existing today. Okay. The fact is that women are making up nearly 50% of the world population, 49.6% of the world population. This was according to the census in 2015. Okay. In spite of being 50% of the population in the world, the entire world there were only 21 heads of the states or countries who were females. Okay, this is one fact. Then women representation in national parliaments is only 23.7%. Look at the population, it is nearly 50%, but the representation of these women in the parliament is nearly only 24%. And looking at different sectors where women are working, most of the sectors, when a survey was done of 17 sectors, in 9 sectors, men were earning more, earning at least 10% more than the women who were having the same work in the workplace. And there is another fact which says that every minute 28 girls in the whole world are married off before they attain the age of marriage according to the law, that is before the age of 18. So 750 million girls till now were married before the age of 18. Law reinforces, there are certain laws in many countries which also reinforces the notion that women exist as a property of man. Okay, many of the times everybody thinks that a woman is a property who is to be handled by man, who is to be owned by a man. Okay, for example, there are certain laws in certain countries. For example, in Yemen, okay, a married woman, if she has to leave the house and go out, she has to take a permission from her husband. This is according to the law. Okay. And in 18 countries, for example, even in Cameroon, husbands can legally, this is what I am saying, not just, so legal action can be taken against these women if they go against their husbands and work. Okay, so husbands can legally prevent their wives from working. This is a law. Okay. Then looking at some of the countries, around the 39 countries in this world, daughters and sons do not have equal inheritance right, inheritance of the property. Okay, they do not have equal rights. Even in India, we have very recently got this right, but until recently, daughters did not have the right for inheritance. Okay. And in 49 countries, they do not have any laws which will protect women from domestic violence. Okay. Though we have been seeing that all over the globe, if we take, there is one among 3 women who has experienced either physical violence or sexual violence at some point in their lifetime. And many of the time, the violence is from the intimate partner itself, okay, for the women. Now, according to the United Nations estimates, there are up to 35% of women who are even alive today. Okay, women who are there today, 35% of them have experienced sexual or physical violence at some point of their life. And looking at the ownership of women in agricultural lands, globally, only 13% of the women are agricultural landholders. Means they have agricultural land in their names. Otherwise, most of the property is owned by men. Only 13% women own lands in their names, agricultural lands. Okay. And then 39 countries have laws that mean a daughter cannot inherit the same proportion of assets as a son. Means there is discrimination even in inheritance of properties. And around 36 countries, they also limit what wives can inherit even from the husbands also. And then looking at the education level or literacy level among women, a woman is more likely to be illiterate than a man. So there are around 63 million girls who still are not going to school. They are out of school children. They are dropouts. And then in most of the countries, okay, women only earn between 60 and 75% of the men's wages. Okay, though they are working, taking up the same work, they do not have laws to ensure equal pay for equal work among men and women. In 113 countries, they do not have laws. Then so around 29 countries restrict the hours women can work. Okay. Then some countries, around 17 of them, limit when and how women can travel outside home. Recently, you might have even seen there was a incident in Mysore itself. And then university had also issued a circular saying that girl students should not walk around or come out in the campus after 6:30 p.m. in the evening. Okay, just imagine in a campus like Mysore University, which is considered to be very safe, even their authorities say that women or girls should not come out in the campus at after 6:30. Okay, just imagine the mindset of our people. Maybe that was considered in keeping safety of the students, girl students in mind, but still it is the mindset of even the boys learning in the campus which we have to change. So education plays a very important role here. Now in 2019, there was a survey which was being done. In this survey, around 1,30,000 children from age groups of 5 to 7. Look at the age, it was 5 to 7. Okay, around 1,30,000 children were surveyed. And the girls' opinion was they were far less likely to take part in team sports. Okay, even though they wanted to take part in sports, but there were around 5 to 7 age girl students were not let out to participate in team sports. Okay. So this discrimination based on gender, okay, it is a very common rights violation. We know we have rights being given, fundamental rights being given, but this gender discrimination which is existing in the society clearly is a rights violation. Okay. Gender inequality is a punishable offense as per law in most of the countries. And then in order to create a gender equal society, we need to create a gender sensitive society. Gender sensitive society means that every boy and girl in the society, every man and woman in the society is gender sensitive. Okay. So it is important for both the guardians or the parents and also the educationists or teachers to make their children sensitive towards the other gender. Sensitive is to know the rights, to know what roles they have to play, and then to even respect the dignity and equality of both the genders. That is what is gender sensitiveness, which has to be brought about in children. Now, how gender sensitization could be acquired through education? It is a basic requirement that children understand the sensitive needs of the opposite gender. So this education through gender sensitization programs can help to examine our own personal attitudes and beliefs. There are two things, attitude and beliefs which we have, and then also question the realities we know which exist in the society today. There is a need for this sensitivity, and this need has been felt and realized from immemorial times. Okay, even in the past, this need for sensitization has been realized. And almost all kinds of human existence across the globe, in most of the cultures across the globe, we have recognized this need for sensitizing both the genders towards the opposite gender through education. Especially when the world has been going through the recent pandemic, this need for sensitizing gender issues has been growing because there is increased violence on women which have been reported. Most of them even go without being reported and known to the outside world, but reports on violence on women, domestic violence especially, has been reported and has been increasing. So education is believed to have the maximum potential for being a catalyst which can change the whole globe, and then which can bring gender sensitization in both the genders. What is gender sensitization then? We will look into some 1 or 2 definitions of gender sensitization, which will help us to go further and see how education can bring about gender sensitization in both male and female, boys and girls. The gender sensitization is the awareness which we will bring about in these children so that they will have an inclination to behave in a manner which is sensitive. See, the word behavior or behaving is very important. It is not just having those values in ourselves and then not showing it in our actions. So it is an awareness which will bring about an inclination to behave in a manner which is sensitive to gender justice. So the word gender justice is very important. Gender justice also relates with gender equality issues. Okay. It's not that we will just have these values in ourselves, but see some gender injustice around in the society, then we have to even react to it. Okay. So it's an inclination that awareness is brought about in children to behave in a manner where gender justice is given in the society. Gender sensitization in education is a process. What type of process? A process which brings a change in the behavior, a process of behavioral change by instilling empathy into the views that people hold about their own and the other sex or the other gender. Empathy is an important word here. Empathy is not equivalent to sympathy, we all know. Okay. There are genders which show sympathy to the opposite gender, but empathy is something above showing just sympathy. Empathy is putting ourselves in the place of that person and then trying to reflect on the feelings which that person will have in that situation, and also the thoughts which the person will be having in that particular situation which they will be facing. So it is bringing about or empathizing ourselves by putting ourselves in the place of the other person. So gender sensitization helps in developing this or enhancing this empathy about the opposite sex. We know the Constitution of India provides for equality of status and also equality of opportunity to all the citizens in the country, irrespective of the gender. Both male and female are given equal status and equal opportunity according to our Constitution. Now, why should we gender sensitize? First, we know what gender sensitization is now. Now, why should we have this process of gender sensitization in education? Why is it important? The first thing is because it develops or enhances the knowledge of laws which are related to women. So through these gender sensitization programs, what we are trying to achieve, we are trying to give knowledge of the laws which are existing for women. And this doesn't mean that only girls are being given this awareness, even both boys and girls, okay, are given this knowledge. Now, this gender sensitization is very crucial for having a balanced development of the young minds. We say the mindset of the children in schools have to be changed. Okay, they should learn to treat the women partners or the girls, their friends, equally as they are. They should be able to identify the potentials which the girls have. Okay, so this balanced development of the young minds is possible through gender sensitization programs. These gender sensitization programs will also build appropriate values, and then they will build self-discipline. Not that somebody has to tell the boys that you have to behave in such a way or tell the girls you have to behave in such a way. Instead, these programs will develop self-discipline in both boys and girls and also enhance the national spirit in them. If we are able to make people aware of ways in which gender and gender-related terminology are socially constructed, this is what these gender roles are socially constructed. They do not come to us biologically, most of them. And then we have to bring this awareness that these gender-related terminologies are socially constructed, and then this facilitates inculcation of values like equality, okay, inclusivity, and diversity. We know every individual, we cannot say that even two boys are the same. Every boy has different potentials, they have different needs, they have different interests. They come from different backgrounds, they come from different culture, they come from a different socio-economic background, family. They are diverse in their own ways. Okay. So similarly, the girls also are coming from different diverse backgrounds. They have different needs, they have different interests, they have different strengths, they have different competencies. So this diversity among the girls themselves and the boys themselves have to be recognized. Okay. And this valuing of this equality, inclusivity, and diversity can be brought about through these gender sensitization programs, so that we will be able to build a future society which will be a healthy society among both the boys, girls, and the men and women. Now, if we are sensitizing people about these gender issues, then we will be able to curb gender bias, which is now prevailing in the society. By curbing this gender bias, we will be able to empower the girls and women to develop to their fullest potentials and also achieve their goals. Okay. So this is why we need to have gender sensitization program in schools. We know there are different agencies of education. Education, when we say is being given, it is not that it is only the schools who educate children. We have two types of education: formal education and informal education. Most of the times these gender issues are, and then things like gender bias, gender discrimination, gender inequality, most of the times it is not directly imbibed in schools, but it has been informally being imbibed in most of the boys and girls. So which are the different agencies of education? We have the formal agency of education, which is the schools and other training institutions which children come into even in their young and formative years itself. We have college and university, and then we have different personnel who work here and then who have an intimate interaction with children, teachers. And we also have the curriculum, which is not only being stated outside the syllabus, but we also have the hidden curriculum, which can also educate the child. We have different informal agencies of education also which exist in society. The family, we know, is the first miniature society to which the child is born into, and the first form of education is being given to the child in its own family, and we know the mother is the first teacher. So the mother plays a very important role in gender sensitization of the student or the child. The other informal agency of education is the community or the neighborhood from which the child comes from, or the state. Then the child does not grow up isolated. The child attends social gatherings. So social gatherings also form an informal agency of education of the child. Then we have playgrounds, crowds, and marketplaces, cinema houses, fairs, which the children will be attending to. Different associations which with the child or the parent will be associated, and then religious ceremonies, even religious practices in different religious ceremonies also imbibe these values of gender inequality in children. So these religious ceremonies, newspapers and different medias, electronic medias like radio and television also are agencies of education and also are imbibing these values in children. And then different public meetings or field trips. Okay? So all these form informal agencies of education. Media, we know, is an agency of education. There is a report given in 2009 by UNESCO. This report says that it fears that even at the current rate, given the stereotyping of women, which is taking place now, even if we move 75 years later, the way media is stereotyping women and stereotyping both the genders, if it continues, 75 years from now, even this gender equality will not be achieved through the media. Just look at the advertisements, the films, the roles which are played by different genders. Okay, that also is propagating the stereotyping of women. And UNESCO report says just mere reporting of facts and figures, like how we started in the beginning saying that these many countries have laws and then do not have laws for fighting against violence of women. We just gave the facts and figures. So just mere reporting of these facts and figures through media will not help in bridging the gender differences, but media should play a proactive role in inculcating gender insensitivity and also ensuring the potentialities of women will grow to the fullest. So media can play a very proactive role, but the media has to play that role. Coming to the formal education, education we know plays a very important role in sensitizing individuals. By sensitizing them, we can change their mindset. It can introduce and sensitize both the girls and boys towards what all gender inequalities are existing now in the society, what gender inequalities are existing in the family. Okay, so that can be introduced or to both the girls and the boys through the formal education, through our curriculum, through our schools, through our teachers. Okay, and formal education can also address issues related to attitudes as well as behaviors. Changing of attitude is very difficult and takes a very long time. Okay, so we have to change the attitude towards the opposite gender, and then also we have to address issues related to behaviors towards prevention of gender-based violence. Through formal education, awareness can be generated and understanding can be given, okay, about the ability to bring about attitudinal change towards gender-based violence. Now, if we are giving gender sensitization through education, if we are forming gender sensitization programs, we know even the National Commission of Women has come out with a booklet for a gender sensitization program which teachers can adopt, which I will just be referring to further in the further slides now. But any program of gender sensitization in any formal education system has certain objectives. So what are the objectives with this, which the gender sensitization programs or booklets have been written? And even NCERT is having this bringing about gender sensitization in schools through its textbooks, curriculum, and teachers. So with what are the objectives with which these programs have been implemented? The first objective of this program of gender sensitization in education is to increase the understanding of the concept of gender. Okay, there is a difference between the two concepts which are synonymously and interchangeably used. There are two words, sex and gender. These two words are different. One is biological, the other one is sociological. So this difference has to be clarified to children in schools itself. So education for gender sensitization has the first objective is to increase this understanding of the concept of gender. The second objective, and a very important objective, is to make children understand the consequence of the different behaviors for girls and for boys. Okay, like how society behaves differently towards the boys and girls, how society gives different roles for the boys and girls, and what is the consequence of behaving differently to the boys and girls. Okay, so this they have to understand. The third objective of this program, gender sensitization program, is to understand how gender roles lead to gender division of labor. Okay, roles like if we say in the beginning in the activity where we saw that somebody who is an architect, and then somebody who is said to be very robust, and then somebody who can enjoy his leisure, somebody who, we always associated them with the male. Okay, and then somebody who can look after, who has to have a good appearance. Okay, all these gender roles will lead to division of labor among different genders. So this they have to understand. These programs make children understand that gender discrimination based on stereotyping of male and female qualities, okay, has to be eradicated. So there shouldn't be gender discrimination, because if we stereotype roles for male and female, if we stereotype the qualities of a male and qualities of a female, that will again lead to gender discrimination. This they have to understand. So these programs make them learn about the stereotypes and also teach them to consider whether these gender stereotypes are really fair or whether they are unfair. Whether we have to really consider this stereotyping behavior or shouldn't we? Okay, so that awareness is brought about in children. Then there is a concept called the patriarchy. We have the patriarchal system in our society. So children are made to understand this concept of patriarchy, okay, and what this system of society will have an effect on the gender equality. Okay, so these gender sensitization programs will always aim at making children understand patriarchy concept and what effect this patriarchy will have on gender equality in society. So this issue will be touched upon in gender sensitization programs. And then these programs will help them to acquire two things, knowledge and skills. Okay, knowledge and skills which are necessary for advancing gender equality in their daily life as well as in their workplace. Okay, so this gender sensitization curriculum will explain the concept of gender equality and how this gender equality is a condition which will benefit not only women but will also benefit the men also in the society. Okay, if gender equality is propagated, then it will benefit both men and women. So this will be explained in gender sensitization programs. So our education system should have these objectives in mind when it is incorporating these gender sensitization programs, and the whole system needs to be gender sensitive itself and needs to be gender friendly. Now, the best possible strategy to minimize gender discrimination in society is to promote gender awareness at all levels of the society. So in order to promote this gender awareness, to create a gender sensitive and gender friendly society, education, especially at the formative years, okay, in the adolescent age, in our secondary school level, in our pre-universities and degree colleges, we have to promote these gender awareness and sensitization programs as being teachers in these institutions. Now we will not only, I said, it is not only the formal agency of school, we also have informal agencies of education. So we look into how gender issues can come about even in homes. Homes also can promote gender awareness in children. How schools can play a role in homes also. We can have a school and parent partnership. Okay, we can strengthen this partnership between the school and the parent, the teacher and parent, so that we can strengthen to identify gender issues at homes. Okay, and then schools can and homes can play a collaborative role in promoting girls' education in rural areas, and then also NGOs awareness training and counseling can be given. Okay, from at homes, NGOs can play a role so that parents can be sensitized to gender issues. And then parents should be advised to treat both their sons and daughters as equals. We see most of the times at homes, even parents expect different roles from the daughters and expect a different role from the family. Small things like dividing work at home. If we just look at, even if we look into the way we were brought up, most of us, if we have common household work like washing the vessels, cleaning something at the home, taking care of the siblings, all these are being assigned to the female at the home. Maybe even a small girl, that girl is expected to look after the siblings at home. Okay, and then boys at home are given work like going out for purchasing at shops, or and then teaching things also, like now luckily most of the things have changed, but even now at certain homes, girls are not taught being independent. Okay, they are not taught skills like swimming. How many of us know skills like swimming? It is a life-saving skill actually. But ask most of the men, they are allowed. They are taught to know the skill by the parents, but it is not considered to be essential for a girl child. And then driving. Okay, most of the boys learn. They say automatically they learn, but parents say the boy has learned it automatically, even though it was not taught. But parents do not create opportunities and environment for the girls to learn these skills of driving and many life-saving skills for that matter. So parents should be advised to treat both their sons and daughters equally. Instead of telling their daughters, many of the times we see parents saying daughters to behave properly. Okay, it means many things when they say behave properly. Okay, but boys are never, most of the times, not told to behave properly. Even if the siblings quarrel at home, okay, parents always take the side of the boy and then say the girl should be patient. The girl should not talk in a high voice. They should speak in a low voice. Okay, and then they don't teach girls to be affirmative about their decisions. Okay, these things have to be taught, and parents should avoid using words like daughter should behave properly and all that. Okay, especially the mothers and the parents should be taught to teach and also respect both the daughter as well as the son, and then treat them equally. They should stop telling young girls of the families that they have to need to learn to cook and then serve the in-laws or the husband, and then telling them that the girls should always adjust. Okay, and there are that way, if we look at even our proverbs or sayings which we use at home. Okay, and then if all of you can understand Kannada, I'll use a little small certain proverbs which we use, like they say, the girls should be patient. The first question is, why should that is the first question. Why do they always insist that girls should have patience? Okay, and then they say why only okay, these proverbs have been propagated and then imbibed in the mindsets of both the boys and the girls at a very engaging families. Okay, so these should be avoided, and then such things we have to also sensitize as educationists and teachers, sensitize parents, and then say that these should not be followed at the house. Okay, and then they should give choice of freedom even to the girls, like how they give to the male sibling. I have seen many of the times, like girls do not take even small decisions. I have seen, I just observe when we go to the hotels or when we go to shopping and all that. Most of the times I have seen that if a girl or a woman in the family is given a choice of selecting what she wants to eat, even in a hotel, I have seen many of the women saying that whatever the man chooses, she would like to eat. Choose she doesn't have the mindset even to think of what she would like to have for that day in the hotel. Okay, that is the mindset which the families are putting in, and then we see that the girls don't go out without taking permission at home, and then they cannot take up activities after certain time. Okay, they have to be back home. Whatever important the activities, they have to leave and then return back home within certain time, okay, set by the parents. So these discriminations should not be done with the male or the female siblings in the family. Then coming to gender sensitivity in schools. Schools, we know, play a very important role in inculcating this gender sensitivity in all the behaviors and etiquettes and manners of the students. So we have to create a gender responsive school. What is a gender responsive school or a gender responsive college or a gender responsive institution? This gender responsive institution wherein the academic, social, and the physical environment and its surrounding community will take into account the specific needs differently for the boys as well as the girls. The girls have different specific needs, boys have different specific needs. So the environment, even the physical environment and both the academic and social environment in our institutions should take into account these different needs of both the genders. So a detailed plan or action plan or a roadmap has to be formulated in the school curriculum so that we will be able to achieve gender equality. This has been, especially our National Policy of Education 2020 is working towards this, and the action plan which we would prepare based on the curriculum given now will propagate gender equality, because we are moving into more inclusive schools. Inclusive schools where facilities are given to include the needs of both the genders. And among teachers, if the teachers have to make students gender sensitive, then the teachers themselves should have gender sensitivity. Okay, so they play a very important role in the upbringing of the child. After the parents or the mother, it is the teacher who plays the very important role. So even the ideas and beliefs or the thought process of the teachers will also make impact on the thought process of young children. We know children come to the schools and colleges in their formative years. Okay, they are very young and they can easily be nurtured with values and virtues which we can teach in educational institutions. So gender sensitivity training should be made mandatory for teachers at all levels, either be it school education or the college education. Teachers working in the educational institutions should be mandatorily trained for gender sensitivity so that the teachers will be able to disseminate the desirable attitude which will be based on mutual respect and trust between both the boys and girls. We have seen that teachers sometimes make differential remarks about the capabilities and characteristics of both the genders. Okay? This should not be done. So we need to cope with different knowledge, attitude, and skills which we have to bring, and the methodologies which we can use to promote gender equality in our educational institutions. Because there is a growing concern of this lack of gender sensitization among the youth, the Central Board of Secondary Education, that is the CBSE, has recently developed a kit on gender sensitivity for teachers. Okay, so that they will be able to ensure unbiased environment in their schools, and then also they will be unbiased in their attitude towards both the boys and girls, and then they will help in equal participation for both the boys and girls in the learning process. We see sometimes teachers in schools and institutions, when they're assigning work to the children, their students, even there we can see that they will be imbibing different gender roles among boys and girls. Okay, and then if we are asking to clean the classroom, bringing water to the classroom, such things girls are asked to do. And then if we are asking something about going out and doing some work on the playground and all that, boys are assigned those roles. Okay, this should be interchangeably assigned for both boys and girls. Okay, so such things have been put up in the kit which has been brought about through the CBSE. Teachers should be able to identify the existing gender biased attitudes both among parents and students, and even among the behavior of the parents and the students. The teacher should be able to identify these gender biased behavior, because only when they are able to identify, they can work towards changing it. And then the teacher should be able to develop pedagogical process. Okay, whatever pedagogy we use in to transact our curriculum in the classrooms, they should also be gender sensitive. And teachers should leave away their prejudices and biases about different genders when they enter into the classroom. So we should adopt learning activities that will foster gender sensitive classroom environment. What do we mean by these gender classroom environment, which we speak about and say that teachers should create a gender sensitive classroom environment? What do we mean by these gender sensitive classrooms? Okay, by this gender sensitive classrooms, we mean that the classrooms which need to consider the requirements or the needs of both the genders. Okay, so these classrooms are said to be gender sensitive. So what are the do's and don'ts for making classroom interaction gender sensitive? What should the teachers do, or what type of environment should be maintained in the classroom and what should not be? We should encourage, especially when we are assigning jobs or as monitors or class leaders, both male and female should be given equal opportunity for being class leaders in the schools or classes. And then we have to address and call on girls and boys equally. When we are addressing boys and girls, we have to address them equally. We should not, especially at the younger age, segregate boys and girls in the classroom. When we are making groups for different activities and all that, we have to make mixed groups. Because nowadays, we are moving away from teacher-centered teaching methodologies to student-centered teaching methodologies. Teacher-centered methods, which we used to earlier use, was just the lecture method or the chalk and talk method. Now we are moving over to constructive strategies, like we have the collaborative learning technique, we have the project learning technique, okay, where we form groups in the classroom so that the students work together and then construct their own knowledge. Okay, so when we are using these constructive strategies for teaching children, then when we are forming groups, we should be sensitive enough to make mixed groups when we are assigning different activities and games in the institutions. And then we are assigning roles. We have to try to switch roles so that we will be able to break down the gender barriers, and then so that we will be able to avoid stereotyping of gender roles. That has to be done. And then we have to make both boys and girls share activities like cleaning, moving furniture, or cleaning the chalkboard. Whatever work we assign to boys and girls, it has to be interchanged among the boys and girls. And when we are conducting activities, we have to give equal opportunities to all children. First of all, we ourselves have to accept that both boys and girls have the equal potentials. Okay, after accepting that both of them have equal potentialities, we should provide them with the opportunities and then treat them as equals. Okay. Then moving over to our curriculum and the textbooks. How far is our curriculum and how far is our textbook gender sensitive? Okay. There are many research studies which have been done to analyze the curriculum at various levels in schools and colleges. And then we are also trying to analyze, the research has been taken up by NCRT and then the UGC to analyze the books which are written for these children, so that how far they are propagating and how far are these textbooks gender sensitive. So academic content, okay, on lessons on gender sensitiveness and moral traditions, we know will unconsciously mold the character of these tender minds of students. So we have to transform all our text reading materials and books so that they'll be free of notion of gender, okay, and then they will propagate gender equality. They'll be free of bias which is embedded in the textbook and lessons. If we just see, even if we see a school textbook, earlier books we see when pictures are given, when we introduce the concept of the mother or a female at home, we see that the mother is always assigned or shown in a picture where she is in the kitchen, cooking, washing vessels. These type of pictures are shown for a woman in the textbook. When we are showing a picture of a man, then it is shown that the man is going out with a briefcase in his hand or a file in his hand. Okay, and then somebody who is going out for purchasing. Okay, all these men are shown in such pictures. Okay, these even the pictures which we use in the textbooks, unknowingly we are propagating gender bias and then gender stereotyping among children. So our curriculum and our textbooks also need to be scrutinized for propagation of gender equality. Government now has been taking certain initiatives, and then NCERT textbooks are made gender sensitive. Nowadays, if you look at the recent textbooks, this has to be even done at the college level also. There is a certain booklet which has been issued by the National Commission for Women, New Delhi, which has come out very recently in July 2020. Okay. This booklet is for gender sensitization and legal awareness program, which has been in collaboration with the education boards for class 11th and 12th all over India. I would like to just briefly take out what are covered in this program of gender sensitization. The first thing this program starts with is for education for gender sensitization. I told you we started with the objectives of education for gender sensitization. The first objective was to make the students clear about the concept of gender by giving clarity or difference between the meaning of sex and gender. One is biological, the other one is sociological. Okay, so this concept is the first issue which has been covered in this gender sensitization program, which we can give in educational institutions. So here we see that the term sex refers to biological difference between the male and the female. It is only the anatomical or the physiological difference. But gender, though people are born as male and female, they learn to be the girls. Being born as a male and female is biological, but learning to be a girl or learning to be a boy who grow up into women and men, okay, they are taught with appropriate behavior and attitude, roles and activities. Okay, so this learned behavior about gender identity will determine the gender roles. So this is a socio-cultural definition of a boy and a girl. Gender is a term used to socio-culturally define these boys and girls or man and women. So this is a social construct. Okay. Dr. Ramesh Chandra, is it? Has raised your hand. Could I just ask you? Yeah. ಮಾತಾಡಿ, ಅನ್ಮ್ಯೂಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೇಳಿ. You have raised your hand.
ರಮೇಶ್ ಚಂದ್ರ, ಅನ್ಮ್ಯೂಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಮಾತಾಡಿ.
ಮೇಡಮ್
ಮಾತಾಡಿ ಸರ್.
ಸ್ಪೀಕರ್ ವಾಲ್ಯೂಮ್ ಕೊಡಿ.
ಹ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ರೈಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದು ಬೈ ಮಿಸ್ಟೇಕ್ ಮೇಡಮ್.
ಬೈ ಮಿಸ್ಟೇಕ್. ಓಕೆ.
ಇನ್ನು 5 ನಿಮಿಷ ಇದೆ ಮೇಡಮ್. 3:10 ಮೇಡಮ್, ಈಗ ಇನ್ನು 5 minutes.
Okay. Now, in these programs, there are certain activities which were given to children. I will just introduce you quickly to certain activities which are used. One such activity which was given to students were, there were certain articles which were given. The articles like car keys, bike, screwdriver, stove, tie, face powder and broom. And then they were asked to assign whether these article is related or articles is normally owned by a boy or a girl, a male or a female. If you just go through these articles, normally considering the car keys or a bike, screwdriver, a tie, okay, such things are always, we know we tend to associate these articles with men. And then things like articles like stove, face powder and broom, we always tend to associate these articles with female or the women. And certain activities also, like washing clothes, reading the newspaper. If you just go through fixing the electric bulb at the home, sweeping, okay, if we are asking children to assign these activities, they assign activities to both male and women, female here. Okay, this also will reflect the gender roles which we will be propagating. Okay, so such and then here the different roles taken up by men and women in the society, like being a chef or a tailor, head of the family, breadwinner for the family, a pilot, a nurse, a barber, politician, plumber. So these different roles are professions which people can take about in the society. If students are asked, we tend to see that normally certain professions are always associated for the male gender and certain professions are associated with the female gender. Okay, so such things are used when we try to educate the students in colleges and schools, and then we teach them about gender stereotyping and gender roles. Okay, so what are gender roles? This is what again is dealt with when we go with gender sensitization. Gender role, we know, is nothing but the responsibilities and behaviors which we attribute appropriate for both men and women. And then culture propagates this also. And culture reinforces us and makes us accept these behaviors for male and female. Okay. And then different socializing agents like our parents, teachers, the peer group, religious leaders and political leaders and the media also propagate these gender roles. Okay, so if we give some activity for the students to associate certain activities, roles, and for women and for both boys and men, okay, these activities, through this activity we can show that the difference is based on biological basis and not based on the real strengths or the potentials which the men and the women possess. And then certain activities like if we ask students to think about their life and then ask them whether they were asked to behave like a man. Many of the times we ourselves have seen our friends saying, behave like a man, behave like a woman. Okay, and then many of the times even mothers would have said, ಹೆಣ್ಮಕ್ಳ ತರ behave ಮಾಡು, ಗಂಡ್ ಮಕ್ಳ ತರ behave ಮಾಡು. Okay, these sentences also propagate this stereotyping of the genders. Okay, so if we ask students to think about different occasions on which they were asked to behave in a certain way. Okay, and then we have proverbs like something like we say udyogam purusha lakshanam. Okay, why shouldn't girls earn, shouldn't girls work outside? Okay, they say udyogam is always the lakshanam of a purusha, not of a mahile. Okay, then something like we say these proverbs also propagate. Okay, so we can ask children to note down certain experiences where they were taught to behave differently from their childhoods. Okay, so from there we can introduce the concept of gender stereotyping. Gender stereotyping is having a gender identity, like saying that being a male, you have to behave in certain way. You have to have certain characteristics like being bold. Okay, and then there is another proverb like something like saying that ನಗುವ ಹೆಣ್ಣನ್ನು ನಂಬಬೇಡ ಮತ್ತೆ ಅಳುವ ಗಂಡನ್ನು ನಂಬಬೇಡ, something like that. Okay, men also have emotions like feeling worried and then they also feel like crying, but our society and our adults imbibe things like saying that you shouldn't cry being a man. Okay, and then you shouldn't laugh too much being a girl. I don't know why girls shouldn't feel happy and then why they shouldn't laugh openly. Okay, many of the families say this. They say that okay, that is being not allowed in many families. Okay, so these gender stereotyping roles also have to be changed. Okay, our gender sensitization programs try to remove these harmful stereotyping, because this stereotyping of gender will affect the professional path, the career path, and the life plans which both, especially the girl child, will develop for her future. So there are certain statements here which normally gender sensitization programs we use in educational institutions, like they have to say whether these have been heard by them before or not. That girls should be obedient and cute and they are allowed to cry, whether boys are expected to be brave and not to cry. And then boys are better at this. Is most of the times I have heard about this and faced this also. They say that boys are better in mathematics. Okay, it's not so. We have heard of Shakuntala Devi, who is said to be a faster than the calculator. Okay, she was a woman. But why do we say that boys are better at mathematicians than girls? I don't really understand. Okay. And then we say that women need to be polite, accommodative, and nurturing. Okay. And then women are bad drivers. This is also I have heard, especially if I have seen traveling in public transport system, even the bus driver saying this. If a female is driving a car in front of the bus, even the male bus driver also tries to overtake the girls, because they do not want women to overtake the men even while driving. This is what is the mindset which has been put in the male of the society. Okay, so such things can be used to avoid gender stereotyping. And then this one activity can be used to say to show whether gender stereotyping is biological or socially constructed. Now we have different colors associated with gender. Colors like pink and blue. Whenever we say pink, we associate the color with a woman or a girl. Whenever we say blue, we associate this color with the man. Okay, and I don't know. Incidentally, I'm seeing myself here wearing a blue today. Okay, and then playing with cars, playing with dolls, playing with flowers. Okay, so these are the things which we can use for differentiating and telling the children or students that gender stereotyping is social and it comes through the socialization process and it is not biological. Okay. Gender division of labor. This is another concept which we would like to. And then patriarchy is another concept, because we live in a patriarchal society. This picture I would like to focus on. We see all the men sitting in a boardroom and then discussing and saying that, okay, gentlemen, what is the agenda next? The next agenda is, should we give women equality? Okay, this is the question which I always ask. And then many a times in seminars when we are having discussions, I see men speaking about giving equality to women, and then giving opportunities to women for higher education, and then giving opportunities to women to work outside. Okay, I don't really understand what right do men have to give an opportunity. Women know to take their opportunity. They know to utilize the opportunities. This concept of men giving opportunity to women itself shows this patriarchal system in which we live. Okay, and then many a times we see that men say that women shouldn't dress in modern dresses because our culture will be left off. Okay, I always ask, why should women always take the responsibility of propagating or transmitting our culture? Okay, they always say women should wear a proper dress code. Okay, because otherwise our Indian culture will go off. Why shouldn't, I don't think pants and shirts and a haircut and all this were the dress code which men had from our ancient days. Okay, when they have westernized and then they can have comfortable clothes, then why are women always given the responsibility of forwarding their culture and transmitting their culture to the next generation? Okay, so this is all is the patriarchal mindset. And this gender sensitization programs also introduce our students to patriarchal system and how this patriarchal system is leading to the men exploiting women in the society. Okay, and this patriarchal structure of the society that will be introduced in this gender sensitization program. Then this concept of masculinity and femininity. Okay, these concepts are also introduced, especially our advertisements and films. Okay, we see them showing men to be heroes, to be very daring, angry young man image is given to a hero always. But when we go to the, first of all, having a heroine to have a dominant role in films itself is very less, because people don't accept it. Even when we take different literature forms, there is one book written by Munshi Premchand. Okay, he was a very famous writer. There was only one book written by him where he had a dominant female character. Otherwise, all the characters in his books were all male dominant. And that book which he wrote with a female dominant character, that book did not become very popular. So he stopped writing books showing the female being dominant. Okay, so it means our society does not accept female in that particular character. Okay, so this also will be sensitized among boys and girls. And then about safety and rights, and then ending violence against women in the society. This so gender-based violence is a phenomenon which is deep-rooted in gender inequality. So this gender-based violence is again a concept which is focused on when we take gender sensitization programs in colleges. Then what are the different types of gender violence, how to reduce it, okay? And this is one fact which has been said, the second biggest category of crime against children. First one is abduction, and the second biggest one is rape. Okay? This really, if you think of it, disturbs our minds. Okay? Then gender equality is one of the concepts which we introduce when we take, and then looking at the 2030 Sustainable Development Goals, India is signatory to this SDG. And then the fifth goal in this SDG focuses on gender equality and empowering all women and girls. It focuses on ending all the forms of discrimination against all women and girls across the globe. And this SDG is supposed to be attained by the year 2030. We are already in 2020. And can you imagine in 10 years, by 2030, India is a signatory, and then all the countries which are signatories to this SDG, these Millennium Development Goals, can they really achieve this gender equality, that SDG 5, the fifth Sustainable Development Goal, and can they really end all forms of discrimination and violence against women and girls? This is to be thought about. Okay. And then this awareness about the constitutional rights, okay, which the women have. This awareness also is brought about in gender sensitization programs. So to end up, education should result in changing regressive social norms. So the social norms which perpetuate the inequalities among genders, this should be changed through our education system. And then women and girls should have equal access to family assets, to the property. It can be to the bank loans and the credit systems, and also equal opportunities to participate in the learning activities, sports, and other public activities. Women should have equal access as men. And then the education should change the mindsets, okay, of devaluing girls in society. It should not make men consider women to be inferior. They should be given equal opportunities to take decisions at home. Okay, parents should allow their daughters also should involve in decision making, and then also choosing the life partners which the women would be interested in. Okay, so that mindsets should be changed. Then right to work and earn for a living, this should be given. Then women should be taught assertive behavior. First thing, the girls should learn to assert themselves, be self-confident, and claim their rights and freedoms also. Okay, so the social cultural practice which put disadvantages to women, okay, like dowry, and then female infanticides, and restricted mobility for girls. Okay, so these things have to be ended first. Okay, so we have to sensitize both boys and girls, are male and female students in our colleges and other educational institutions towards this. And then the National Policy of Education 2020 also is trying to perpetuate this gender sensitization through the educational curriculum, and even it is insisting and giving training to teachers to adopt the learning pedagogy or the teaching pedagogy which will propagate gender equality, and then will sensitize both boys and girls equally, and then also create a gender sensitive and gender friendly environment, learning environment, and even the physical environment in the educational institutions. So I think it is the duty of all of us as teachers to create a gender just society, okay, a society which gives gender justice, because women and girls also, they deserve to live in a better world than what they are living today. Okay, so let us break the barriers to gender equality which exists in society. And this picture, with this picture, I just try to show that there is an aquarium and a fish is not suiting into the aquarium. So it is not that one size will not fit everybody. Okay, so similarly, each individual girl as well as a boy has a different need. They have different interests. They have different potentialities. Okay, as teachers, let us try to build a society where all of them will be gender sensitive, who will be considering the equality of each other. Okay, and then we will try to reconstruct our society into a gender just society. Okay, I think with this, I will just end up. And any questions or discussions, or anybody wants to add to this, you can even